The Olympic marathon, but that is the case. The Olympic marathon, but that is the case.
Whoa! Something just blew up at Run! Go!
Major breaking news. Right now, 2 people dead after 2 explosions at the finish line of the famed Boston Marathon.
A shocking attack at one of the most popular marathons in the world.
Shockwaves just hit my whole body and my legs just started jittering around.
I was briefed by my Homeland Security team on the events in Boston. We're continuing to monitor and respond to the situation as it unfolds.
Holy shit! Holy shit!
April 15, 2013. Patriots Day in Boston, Massachusetts. It was supposed to be a day of celebration. More than 27,000 runners had spent months preparing for one of the most famous races in the world, the Boston Marathon. Along the course, hundreds of thousands of spectators packed the sidewalks. Families waited near the finish line with flowers, cameras, and homemade signs, ready to celebrate loved ones crossing the line. The atmosphere was electric. Music echoed through the streets. Volunteers handed out water and medals. Strangers cheered for people they'd never met. But in less than 2 minutes, everything would change.
The Olympic marathon, but that is the case.
Whoa! Something just blew up at Run! Go!
The Boston Marathon wasn't just another race. Since 1897, it had become a symbol of endurance, tradition, and community. Every year, runners from around the world traveled to Boston to test themselves over 26.2 miles. By the afternoon of April 15th, thousands of runners were making their way toward the finish line on Boylston Street. Spectators squeezed shoulder to shoulder behind metal barricades, hoping to catch a glimpse of friends and family finishing the race. Emergency crews, volunteers, and race officials were scattered throughout the area, prepared for the usual medical emergencies that come with the marathon. No one expected they would soon be responding to something far more devastating. At approximately 2:49 in the afternoon, the celebration was interrupted by a powerful explosion near the finish line. Thick gray smoke filled the street. For a brief moment, confusion took over. Many people thought a generator had exploded. Others froze, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. Just seconds later, another explosion erupted farther down Boylston Street.
Whoa! Something just blew up at Run! Go!
Panic spread instantly. Spectators ran in every direction. Runners who had spent hours reaching the finish line suddenly found themselves fleeing for safety instead of celebrating. Within moments, police officers, firefighters, paramedics, and ordinary civilians rushed toward the injured, often without knowing whether more explosions could follow. Those first few minutes would reveal extraordinary acts of courage as strangers risked their own safety to help others. As the smoke cleared, investigators faced one overwhelming question: who had done this? The blast had turned one of Boston's busiest streets into a massive crime scene. Every piece of debris was photographed, collected, and examined. Investigators searched for anything that could explain how the attack had been carried out. It didn't take long to determine that the explosions had been caused by homemade pressure cooker bombs, hidden inside backpacks and left among the crowd near the finish line. The investigation quickly grew into one of the largest in FBI history.
Very detailed analysis of photo, video, and other evidence, we are releasing photos of these 2 suspects. They are identified as Suspect 1 and Suspect 2.
Agents reviewed thousands of hours of surveillance footage from nearby businesses, security cameras, and television broadcasts. They also received countless photos and videos from spectators who had unknowingly recorded the moments leading up to the attack. Somewhere inside those images, the people responsible had been caught on camera. 4 days after the bombing, investigators made a major breakthrough. After carefully reviewing countless hours of footage, the FBI identified 2 men they believe were responsible for planting the bombs. During a nationally televised press conference, authorities released surveillance images of the suspects. The 2 men became known simply as Suspect 1 and Suspect 2. Investigators urged the public not to approach them and instead report any information immediately. Within hours, their faces were being broadcast across television screens, newspapers, and social media around the world. But before police could catch them, the suspects made their next move. On the evening of April 18th, just hours after their photos were released, the suspects allegedly carried out another violent series of crimes. Authorities say they shot and killed an MIT police officer before stealing a vehicle from a nearby neighborhood. The driver was reportedly forced to remain with them as they drove through the area. At one point, he managed to escape and immediately contacted police.
Sir, what did he say when he took your car?
Please help me, please. They have guns.
Where are they?
They are in the Shell gas station.
Using information from the victim and technology that tracked the stolen vehicle, officers quickly closed in on the suspects. The pursuit led police into the quiet streets of Watertown, where one of the most intense manhunts in modern American history was about to unfold.
Shot fired! What? Shot fired! Shot fired!
As officers surrounded the suspects, a violent gun battle erupted. Dozens of shots were exchanged as police tried to stop them from escaping. Authorities say explosive devices were also thrown at officers during the confrontation,
There are two more banks right there.
adding to the chaos. In the confusion, one suspect was critically injured and later died. The second suspect managed to escape into the darkness. Suddenly, one man had vanished, and no one knew where he was hiding. For nearly an entire day, one of America's largest cities came to a standstill. But despite the massive search, the suspect was nowhere to be found. Then, just as authorities began lifting the lockdown, a homeowner stepped outside and noticed something unusual. The cover on his boat had been disturbed. Looking closer, he saw what appeared to be someone hiding inside. He immediately called 911. Within minutes, officers surrounded the property. After a tense standoff, the remaining suspect was taken into custody alive. The manhunt that had gripped an entire nation was finally over. In the months that followed, investigators continued building their case, using surveillance footage, forensic evidence, and witness testimony. In 2015, the surviving suspect was found guilty on all 30 federal charges, including using a weapon of mass destruction and conspiracy. He was later sentenced to death, though that sentence remains the subject of ongoing legal proceedings. The bombing claimed the lives of 3 people and injured hundreds more, forever changing countless families. But despite the tragedy, the city refused to let fear define it. Every year since, thousands of runners have returned to the streets of Boston, crossing the same finish line that became the scene of unimaginable horror. The Boston Marathon is no longer remembered only for the attack, but for the resilience of a city that refused to stop running.